Hello everyone, my name is Renata and this is my text quest project. I'll be showing you 10 sources that I plan on utilizing in my classroom when it comes to teaching about Impressionist art. As I've previously mentioned, I want students to learn about Impressionist art from a non-Eurocentric approach, meaning that I really want my students to develop an understanding towards where Impressionist artists obtain their source of inspiration, which I'll be discussing in the following slides. My goal with this project is also to allow students to feel confident in their ability to paint outdoors and not focus so much on creating a realistic painting. And this project is geared towards advanced placement high school art students. The first source that I plan on utilizing is a video that is called Impressionism in 8 Minutes, How It Changed the Course of Art. While it's a history video, I find that the interactive graphics included in this video introduce artists to Impressionist art in a way that is digestible and relatable to them, because it relates to a lot of what they probably already do and research in their own time, so it makes it easier to comprehend and follow along because it's an engaging video. The second source that I plan on using is a video that introduces students to valuable information regarding the source of inspiration for many well-known Impressionist artists. As an art educator, it's really important to me that my students are not only developing habits of mind when it comes to art education, but that they also understand where credit should be given when it comes to the art that we get to appreciate nowadays. So in this case, it would be Japanese woodblock prints that were the source of inspiration for many Impressionist artists. This video is really digestible and engaging, and it's only 8 minutes long, so it's difficult for students to probably get bored while watching it because the speaker does a really great job at engaging the audience. The following source that I think would be really helpful for my students would be Google Arts and Culture. I really like this website even when it comes to creating my own projects and my own research, because it is a really engaging website overall. But basically, students can independently familiarize themselves with Impressionist movement by using this interactive website where they can click on artworks that stand out to them. And what I really like about it is that it gives students, again, a sense of agency when it comes to choosing the artworks that stand out to them. And when you click on a particular artwork, it provides you a brief summary of it that, again, is clickable, and it could take my students to, introducing them to new artists that they've never heard of, or a certain time period that they are really particularly interested in. And I figure I could give them 15 to 30 minutes to explore and play on their own with this website, but again, really engaging. My fourth source consists of allowing my students to obtain modern day examples from websites that they're already familiar with, such as TikTok. I think that students can find source of inspiration by utilizing platforms that they're already familiar with. And again, it gives them a sense of agency when it comes to the content that they're choosing to engage with, because it stands out to them. They might like the particular artist and how they're teaching them. And I think it's a really great tool, and the fact that the videos are super short also keeps things moving quickly to the point where they can begin creating as soon as they're done finding their sources of inspiration. So I figure 15 to 20 minutes to allow my students to do research on their own. Another really great source that I think my students could use would be to create Pinterest boards. Not only is it fun, but again, it gives them a sense of agency when it comes to finding sources of inspiration, rather than have me show them like, hey, this is what you're supposed to like. No, I want to give them that opportunity to choose and do their own research, because I think it could expose them to vocabulary that they've probably never seen before, and then they could develop again that agency of what does this word mean, or who is this artist, and they're already in a computer or a laptop or any device of their choice. Might as well just take it and do some research. And I think Pinterest is a really fun and engaging website, so giving them 15 to 20 minutes to complete this activity would be really beneficial to them. Now, this one is an absolute dream of mine, and one of the many reasons I became an educator is because I would love to take my students as a whole class on a museum field trip, art museum field trip, particularly, because I just think that students benefit so much from being exposed to the artworks that they have been studying and learning about. And when you get to see, especially Impressionist art that is really heavily focused on the brushwork of artists, I think it's just wonderful to be able to see them up close and kind of take in what you've been researching and learning about and seeing online, but actually seeing in person and seeing what it was like to play around with paint the way that Impressionist artists did. So it is a dream of mine to again take a whole class on a field trip. But if it's not possible to due to funding purposes or such things, I really do plan on encouraging my students to either going individually with a partner or a group of their friends. But again, just because I really find value in attending museums. And oftentimes there's discounts for students or days where it's free. So I think it's really accessible and possible. Now, I am really also excited to hopefully one day in my classroom provide my students with the opportunity to use auditory aids, because I think when students immerse themselves in the process of creating by playing music that they enjoy or music that relates to the time period that we're studying, I think there could be a lot of benefits that are obtained from that, because the students again are introduced to content that they probably haven't heard of or are a little familiar with, but it takes it to the next level for them. And it could last 60 minutes or however long our class is, but the idea is to listen to it while we're working on our projects. I also thought it would be really useful to include an infographic as a source or a visual aid for my students to utilize while they're working on this Impressionist painting project, because I think it gets to a point where you have just been learning so much about one particular topic that you might be too overwhelmed. So it's really useful to have something as a reference, a quick reference that is like you already know what you know, but you just need a friendly reminder of like, hey, you could use this method, or remember this artist, this technique that we discussed, you could probably implement it in your own work. So again, just a really digestible and concise piece of paper with information that we've learned to remind my students of like, you know this, you got this. Here's another video that I think would be really useful for my students to get sort of a reminder of hey, we talked about this, but if you need to go back and view how to implement this particular technique when it comes to your project completion, I think this is a great source, because again, it's a short video, but it's still, the artist goes in detail into what you should, particular brush stroke you should do, or the materials that you should use for this effect, and so on and so on. But yeah, a 6-minute video that my students can always just go back and reference, especially if they're working at home or if I happen to not be there or whatever. One of my favorite aspects when it comes to the Impressionist period is that artists allowed themselves to work outdoors rather than in a studio. From what I've learned in my classes and my own practice, I think so much gets lost when you work in a studio because of the lighting conditions, that working outdoors provides you with a greater sense of natural light and how to use it when it comes to your painting, rather than creating from looking at your phone or looking at a screen. Not that there isn't value when it comes to creating that way, but you're able to see firsthand how natural lighting works in nature, and you can capture that in your painting, and you get to touch some grass while you're creating art. So I think students can learn from her firsthand experiences on outcomes that come from working outdoors, and that's why I included this source of an artist that already works outdoors and describes their experience as well as their daughter's experience, because that's how they were able to sort of carry out this experimentation. But yeah, giving my students this source of reassurance of like, hey, you might think I'm crazy because I want to take you and paint outdoors, but there's research, there's benefits that come from this, and that's why I'm doing it, if my students are interested in reading it. But yes, I thought of including this source as well. And that basically summarizes my 10 sources that I thought would be useful to introduce my students to Impressionist art. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.